Guys, we have another video idea coming in from my girlfriend, and basically I'm just going to talk about what my opinion is of people having unique names. I could speak to this myself, having kind of a unique name. My name is Jacob, as you all know from the title, but it's spelled with a K, which is definitely not the normal way of spelling it. Most often you would say it's spelled with a C. I would even say that spelling Jacob with a K is less common than having people that are straight up legally named Jake. So it is definitely a unique spelling. And the way I got my name was I was named after Bob Dylan's son, Jacob Dylan. So in that sense, I think a lot of those unique spellings either come from a source or they just come out of the sake of wanting to be creative. And I guess that's kind of a vague way of putting it. But another good example is my girlfriend's name is Katie. I think I've mentioned in a video before. She spells her name K-A-I-T-I-E, which is different than the normal spelling of K-A-T-I-E, or any variant of that. And her name, I'm guessing she's given me permission to talk about it since she came up with the idea for the video and mentioned her name. Basically, her name came up from her full name is Caitlin, which is K-A-I-T-L-Y-N. And you could very clearly see it at the first four letters and carried it over. It's one of those things where I think it's kind of cool having a unique name at a lot of times because it makes you kind of stand out. It's distinct. It helps a lot when you're looking at long lists of names in something like school or at work, all those kind of things. Having a unique spelling of a name can make it a lot easier to sort through stuff. At other times it could be complicated because chances are if you have a very minor change in how your name is, for example, my name's Jacob, very, very common name, but with a very unique spelling, constantly throughout all of schooling, I would have people write my name incorrectly and then go back and try and fix it, write something in pen and just kind of trace over the C to make it look like a K. Fortunately, my name is distinct enough that it stands out if it's spelled wrong. My girlfriend, for example, has a name where it's so minusculely different that I personally didn't notice that it was spelled differently until she had to go out of her way to correct me and say, hey, you're spelling my name wrong. You said my name like 3-4 times and you're spelling it wrong every time. And which I felt terrible about, but it was one of those things that I could only imagine how much she's had to deal with that because it sneaking a small letter like an I in a name that already has an I and just your brain kind of fills in the gaps of what you think you're reading without actually reading it. So with unique spellings like that, there's some trickiness to it, but it's also helpful. There's the other side of unique spellings and names, or unique names in general, which are just names that are foreign to whatever the general community is. For example, in America, any name that comes from Asia or Africa or anything that's not America basically, or maybe Europe, is going to sound very, very strange to most people within the country and be very, very unique. And in that sense, having those kind of unique names very clearly stand out, but the frequency of you having to be able to correct people on how to spell your name, say your name, the way you'll be kind of profiled and looked at by anything you apply to, such as scholarships, or colleges, or jobs, like all that, just by having a name that looks different than what they're used to seeing is going to have a monumental impact of how they perceive you as a person. So again, you have your positives and negatives with that. A lot of the same positives as I was saying with the weird spellings where it's your name sticks out and all that, but the negatives are much, much more extreme when you have a unique name that's foreign to whatever the country you're currently located in. And in that sense, I guess what I'm trying to get to and what I'm going to try and wrap this video up with is the idea of if I were to name my child, would I want to give them a name that's unique or would I want to give them something that kind of blends in with society more? And for me personally, I wouldn't go to the extreme of a name that's foreign to where I live, mostly because I've lived here. It wouldn't make sense for me to give my child a name from a culture that I am not a part of. But I do like the idea of my child having a unique name, like one that stands out and makes it different than the most cliche names out there. I would try to avoid like a top 20 name kind of thing if I could. For example, Jacob has been, I think, the number one most popular name for 20 years now, something like that. At the time when I was born, it just hit its popularity, basically. Before that, it was somewhere outside the top 10 of popular names. That was me looking at a fly in my room. And yeah, now that the fly is distracting me, I'm going to wrap the video up here. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.